Welcome to Developing the Leader Within podcast, the podcast that brings you leadership insights from the brightest minds shaping our world. Join us as we dive into conversation with trailblazers, innovators, and change makers, spanning every corner of the globe. Get ready to explore new perspectives, gain actionable insights, and become the leader the world needs today. Unleash your potential. Tune into Developing the Leader Within podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Let's embark on this transformative journey together. Developing the Leader Within podcast, leading beyond limits.
Welcome back, everyone. If you haven't subscribed, please do so right now, as it'll help getting our show to others and help us get to our next milestone. Today, we are speaking with Jeannie Dougherty. Jeannie is the president and owner of Jeannie Dougherty Counseling and Associates and is a certified money coach and mental fitness coach. She supports career changers who want to pivot careers or want to start a new business to do it so it's financially sound and less risky than fears in their head. So, Jeannie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Enrique.
Well, folks, today we have an exciting conversation around something that is kind of on people's mind with all the different job losses around the federal government and unfortunately trickling into local government and local companies. So we'll be talking about money moves, how to survive and thrive after an unexpected career change. But Jeannie, before we get into that conversation, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm Jeannie Dougherty, but my clients call me a money whisperer. I know, weird, kind of fun. But I like to think that I bring ease and wisdom to people who want to get more out of their money than just trying to, go through this rat race and being burned out. They want to do more than just try to control the money. They want to make their money work for them. And the most common things that my clients achieve when they work with me is they make more money, they lose the financial stress, and they shatter their own glass ceilings, which is all internal, by the way. So my money journey pivoted because both my parents died of Alzheimer's, unfortunately. And the number of working caregivers for aging loved ones is about 20%. But caregiving in the US, it's 100 million people, and that includes parents. And so I became a money coach because I could see firsthand how families, money, and career collide, and it can take you years to recover. And I'm also the founder of the Virtual Caregiver Conference.
Outstanding. Well, look, my heart goes out to you because I myself have been in the world of Alzheimer's with my mother-in-law passing, and now my father-in-law has it, and we're dealing with him. My parents passed, so we don't have them. So as I am watching this life kind of downgrade in their mind, it is something that is very heartbreaking. My heart goes out to you and all of those that are living and going through having parents or family members going through that. And it impacts financially. It does impact financially. So as we're thinking and talking about financial foundations, what are the first three financial steps someone should take when faced with an unexpected career change, as so many are right now, to maintain stability and avoid long-term setbacks?
So what I always say is you got to start with the very beginning, which is you want to check your numbers. So you want to look at all your accounts, find out what's going on. You also want to look at what are your expenses. So a lot of times we have subscriptions, but really the truth is people don't get really nailed too much on subscriptions. It's their insurance, it's their mortgage or rent payments, it's the car insurance, it's the car payment. Those are actually the big ticket things that really can tip, or if you will, become an issue that gets you in the red long before, your Netflix subscription. Although, if you don't need it, you can get rid of it. And credit cards for some people are the only way they really know how to survive when they don't have the cash flow. And so that's another big thing that you just really want to pay attention to. But the second thing that people forget about all the time is people. Who is in your network? And so this is why it's so important to be on places like LinkedIn, You can be on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, not Twitter. I could go on and on and on. It doesn't really matter the platform, although LinkedIn is geared for professionals. It's how you're using the connection tools. Are you actually trying to have conversations with people? Do you actually know any of these people? Do these people know of anyone? I don't know. But when you start to get to know your network, which is really what I like to think is your golden opportunity, is when you can really take a good look at, oh, I know some people who I could actually ask some questions. Not, I need a job, I need to get paid. No, you need to understand who these people are and who they are in relation to you, and what could be next. Because I'm telling you, there's really no mentor out there that's going to be like, oh, I know what it's like to get laid off at 50 with two kids in high school. And no, there really are very few people who can do that for you. But there are people who've gone through tough times. There are people who've started over. There are people who have ideas on what you can do with your current situation. And that right there can be magical.
Well, very powerful tips there, especially when you talk about that last one.
Yeah.
Being 50, two kids in high school is a trajectory that most people go through. And unfortunately, right now, there are a lot of older workers that are looking at unemployment in a snap of a finger right now.
Yes.
The federal government has gone through a massive, unprecedented, I've never seen a layoff session as we are right now, but it is happening and it's reality for some, which brings a lot of uncertainty, obviously, in the ability to get a job and things like that. So, as we're trying to manage these uncertain times, how can professionals effectively manage their savings, if that's a thing for them, and their investments during a period of job uncertainty or transition?
Yeah. So again, if you know what your numbers are, then hopefully you do have some money saved up. One of the great risks that happens to federal or sometimes certain state employees is that their work becomes so specific to the agency that they're working for, or like in the government, a department. And then it gets harder to translate that without getting specific career support. But if you're just somebody who works in the private sector, you have a better chance of finding another job because those skills are applicable in multiple arenas. But right now, a lot of people who are even in private sector are trying to see if they can find jobs, just different jobs. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And why is that? Because they're not sure on their numbers, they're not sure on their network, and they're not really sure what they can do. So again, if we can start with step one, things are good. But if you're going to have to pull out money, I mean, right now, for some, the stock market is tanking. That's not an option for you. So, are you going to pull money if you own a home out of your home equity? Some may. I don't recommend that without speaking to a financial advisor who can go over all of your numbers. If you have health issues, and most people do, by the time they reach a certain age, they're on medication for something. Pick a problem, right? And so that's when they have to look at having to pay for their own insurance. And for those of us who are self-employed, we're like, we've been doing this for years. So we're very familiar with it. But believe it or not, there's a lot of cost savings if you do a COBRA, or if you do just insurance, as an individual sort of last moment, on the health exchange. You can actually have some great savings. And there's health insurance people out there on the market that can help you, they're all over. Every state has one. So it's not like there's only two people in the whole US that can help you. There are plenty. And there are multiple options depending on the state where you live. For some people, like if they don't have a job, their best option may be to move home, depending on the age. And that may be a starter or a saver, but it also may be one of the things that they're going to have to look at. If they're going to move home, how are they going to contribute to the household? Because they're technically utilizing more water, more electricity, more gas, but also their space, if they're on the internet, all that good stuff. So my hope is that if people do have to return home for any reason, I'm not here to judge, but that they are helping to contribute. Because I will tell you, somebody on a fixed income will just try to suck it up for as long as they can. That's not good.
Yeah, and you spoke about which is something very important. Sometimes we're in a job that is so specific that can only be done in that environment that it doesn't easily translate to something else on the mainstream career path, right?
Right.
And so if you are in those situations, you have to think about uh, diversification of your abilities. And so
Exactly.
maybe it's too late now. Maybe you did get the pink slip or the message or the email as it going on right now that you're no longer required. So you have to think about those things in terms of careers. But in terms of financing, you also have to start thinking about the diversification of income. So let's talk a little bit about that. What strategies can someone use to create new income streams while searching for their next career opportunity?
So one of the things that I have found is that, there's opportunities in every decade. And for some people, it really comes down to a very simple question. What do you need to do? And then what are you willing to do? So if you're willing to start a podcast, which people do, and they get sponsors, and next thing you know, they have a little side hustle business. But they end up having the conversations that they want with people and start doing it that way. So that's one example of a strategy as I've known people to start creating revenue streams. Did it happen overnight? No, but it did happen because they said they were willing to do it. Other people get on TikTok and start that. But really, other people have to take a good look at their skills. Like, what are you actually good at? And problem solving is wonderful, but that's actually not a marketable skill set just all by itself. You have to be solving specific problems. I always try to remind people that, Tina Turner, she's a legend, an icon. And I think she was with what, Ike Turner, 14, 15, maybe 16. And so her life was a singer during, the nighttime, but then, during the day, I think she was, I took care of her, whatever that meant, financially speaking. But when she left him, she went to her friends and she cleaned their houses and they gave her money. And she did that for quite a period of time until she was able to get back on the stage. Because why? Well, she didn't know anything else. She didn't have any other money. There was no like income coming in from all over these other places. And I'm not telling people, go clean your friends' houses. No, I'm just saying, she knew what her skills were. She knew what her opportunities were. And she was like, I'm going to go do it. And so when we have that kind of opportunity, like this is what she needed to do to survive. And then she made a plan to go back how she wanted to thrive. And her manager, she told her manager at the time, I want to sell out stadiums like, the Rolling Stones. And that had never been done ever by any woman, and she did it.
Amazing. It's amazing when you focus on what you're good at. A lot of times we fall into jobs, into careers that, you have mentioned earlier, just need a job, I need a paycheck, I need to pay the bills. And
Mhm.
then you do that for a long period of time, and then you kind of separate from what you are truly good at. But if all else fails and you are able to identify that and have that, that is definitely something to fall back on or have going while you are doing a particular job and let that supplement. And I know that a lot of people have gone to podcasting. I was one of those in
Sure.
2020, left my job. The next day, pandemic happens. What do?
Wow.
I do this. And it has diversified the flow of money into my household through sponsors and things of those natures. But you spoke about earlier knowing the numbers, right? And you said that two or three times. Know the numbers, because really that is your first indicator of where you should go. So, talking about debt and expenses, how should individuals prioritize debt repayment and manage essential expenses when their income is disrupted?
So, like, I always like to think, like, with student loans or any creditors, if you can take advantage of like a 90-day grace period or a 3 month or 30 days, take it. Take it right away. And then you need to really, again, sit down. What are your essential, expenses, the priorities? Well, you need a roof over your head. You need insurance. You need gas. You need food, and you need to pay for any medication. Those are kind of more the essentials. Those aren't sexy. Oh, you also need a phone. Those are the things that you need. Internet, technically, you can go to Starbucks. Technically, you can go to the library. You can find other places to do the internet. In terms of hotspotting, if that's the way it's got to go, then that's what people do. But why is it that you need to know those basics? Because that's really how people move from, if they're pushed into a place of automatic survival, into thriving, is they got to know their numbers, and they also have to know what are they willing to let go of. I always find it interesting when people tell me like, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to be dead broke. Well, there were people who were in the fires in California or floods in North Carolina. They lost everything. So they're definitely in survival mode. Yeah, maybe insurance is coming down the road, but they have nothing that day. So they're going to have to figure out immediately what they're going to do next. That's not a place of shame. That's a place of power. If you're willing to roll with it and go, you're right, this is what it is right now. It's not my fault, but I got to go do it, right? Like getting laid off or fired, or, the company shuts down due to AI or whatever. That's never a shame piece, but it's amazing to me how many times as an emotional and behavioral money coach that we have to rewire that piece, because that's what we've learned in the past. If you lost your job, you probably did something. No, you probably didn't necessarily. It's just what happened. It's just a situation.
And that's a great, powerful advice.
Yeah.
Sometimes it wasn't you, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that happen during our career that is so interdependent with other things that it's just not always you. And even if you had something to do with it, in its totality, it had more to do with other things than you. So yeah, great thing to advise and to really hold on to during these times. Now, the future may not seem as bright, when you come up to a house that's totally burned down, or you're watching your house flow down the river. Your future doesn't look as bright as you would like it, but there are ways of future proofing finances. So let's talk about that. What proactive financial habits can professionals adopt to prepare for and protect themselves against future career disruptions?
So hopefully you're already doing this with a financial advisor that's already kind of gone over the basics. You already have some savings. But one of the best habits that I share with people, and people look at me like, no, but I'm going to tell you, this is really what it is. It's called tithing. You want to start a proactive financial habit today. As soon as money comes in, you tithe 10%, and it goes to what is your good. That does not mean a house of worship. It does not mean that you have to give to some religious or nonprofit. It goes where your good is. And this is where sometimes people have to really sit down and think, well, did anyone help you today? Did anyone give to you today? Or is there somebody's mission that you're like, I would like to support them? Like, look at that nonprofit and I love it. So when you tithe, you are actually, it's like a manifestation generating action step that you can take to say like, universe, hey, I'm giving you what I got and I'm going to ask for more, because tithing is very popular in scripture. And again, you can take that for what it's worth, but it's Malachi 3:10. It's in the Old Testament, but basically, I'm going to paraphrase it and screw it up. But basically, what it means is that when you tithe, you're opening the windows to your home and the doors so that nothing but good will come your way. And it's going to come back in a way that you've never expected. And why is that? Because you're saying, I believe there's good out here, and I'm going to show with my money that I've worked for or I've earned in some way, shape, or form, or it just miraculously came to me, that I'm going to go tithe. Boom. I'm going to go give them 10%. There are people out there that have used tithing at a level that you and I would go, what? So I've met people that tithe at 20, 25% of every piece of money they get. Holy moly, right? And then I've met people who tithe at 40%. Just I'll take a breath here. 40% of what they received, because they were in serious debt and they needed to what? They needed to see past the problem, because many times with money problems, we see ourselves as so much smaller instead of we are actually much bigger than this problem, which is right about here.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And if you follow any of the rich people on earth, you will see that this is an element that they have within their financial structure. They are folks, they just give and give. There are some tax benefits in some of those, right? But they've actually tapped into something that is not only biblical, but also something that has been proven time and again to be one of those actions that just opens up stuff. So, yeah, I would tend to agree that that would be a good thing to start. Obviously, when you're in a heap of debt and things like, it doesn't seem like, oh, I can, but even a penny, right? Which is another biblical story. I'll just throw
Mhm,
that in
mhm.
there. The woman, the old lady her last penny, just gives it in, and I think it may have been 2 cents, but she gives it in, and then the thing is that it was spoken of her that she had given more than those that were just throwing cash at this thing, right? Because she gave it from a place of need, right, of want. Uh,
Mhm.
so a very powerful thing there to practice. Now, Jeannie, I noticed today that you have a show on LinkedIn coming up, right? And so what do you have coming up, and where can the viewer, listener, follow or support you in what you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm just doing a LinkedIn Live tomorrow, which is March 13th, and it's called the Big Money Event. And because I'm actually doing a full-blown money making webinar, which is March 27th. But this big money event is sort of the answer to all the questions and comments I get about, but I'm out of work now. I don't know what to do now. And so my experience is when you need to call in big money, not it'd be really nice, like if I could get a salad today, I'll manifest that. That's great. I mean, that's great manifestation skills if you can get that, like you get the salad that you want, and there it is. But when we need to call in big money, we often need to use certain skills because a lot of times we think, even down here, that we only get like this much money. No, you can call in that money. So, what is it used for? It's used for people who need to get that new home in that neighborhood. So, they've got to be able to manifest that like really nice home, and it may cost them more, or they just need to get it done in a timely manner. And when they look at their finances, they're like, ooh, I'm going to need to figure this out, and I can't pull out of my 401k. Maybe they can't do that, or their TSP, to use more local terms for federal folks. It may be that you have to get a surgery for yourself or for your pet. It needs to get done in a timely manner. It may be that you're an entrepreneur and it's not like I just need more clients. It's like I need to up level the business and I need to have this income here so I can go do the next thing and then the next thing. So it's really about the big money, and it's not about just manifesting for the sake of manifesting. Because I can tell you that manifesting an idea can take you years and sometimes decades. And that's not really manifestation. You just get in the habit of like, I'm manifesting it. But the truth is, you haven't decided that you're going to do this. You're just kind of guessing it. That's what the difference is between tithing and saying, like, I have 3 months worth of savings. No, tithing is different.
That's for sure. Now, folks, we'll have all the information as part of the video and the show notes so you can support Jeannie in all her endeavors, and you will want to make that seminar for sure. I believe the live will be done by the time this airs, but I'll definitely be watching. Folks, I just want to remind everybody that today's episode is sponsored by the Global Trends Magazine, the Outlier Project, Fantail Services, Southern Sweet and Sassy Coffee, Ascend Meditations, and Chop AI. And if you've enjoyed this episode and learned something interesting about the topic covered today, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and let us know by leaving a comment. And make sure to catch us streaming on Parade Deck, on Roku and Amazon Fire TV, on the Purpose Place Network, and catch our Going Deeper Within content on the Lions Guide Academy. Tune in next week for another episode where we dissect leadership from another angle. And as we like to end the show, success to you.